The magnitude of this fixture, it feels like rolling back the years, doesn't it? It's Ferguson versus Wenger, purely because of what this game could mean in terms of the title race. It feels as if United fans are on the edge. They don't want to admit it, and I know Arsenal fans don't as well, but they're on the edge of dreaming. Look, the Palace result feels like a loss, I get that, but a win against Arsenal could make their dream come not true, but it will get them dreaming for sure. They'll literally just fall asleep and start dreaming of a title. First one in ages. Now, the pressure is on Arsenal. You don't want to hear that either, right? But the pressure has been there for a while, and so far, it hasn't got the better of the team. And in a match which seems bigger than the derbies these teams were involved in last week, what are the key factors that could decide a winner when you have the league leader taking on a possible title chaser? Before we get into the video, I will be streaming the game on Twitch. I know a lot of people stream these days, and I'm one of them as well. So if you want to sort of dive into the sort of tactical minutiae of it all, whilst having just a bit of banter, join me on Twitch. Link is in the description. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, share it, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and just support the lad. And the lad is me. Now, before looking into this game, I think it's worth and it's interesting to look into that 3-1 victory for Man United in September, because United played without Casemiro, something which they will be doing again due to the yellow card he received against Crystal Palace. And right now it seems a huge loss for United, but they have proved that they can win without him. In this game, Arsenal were allowed most of the ball, and in fact they had 44 touches in United's penalty area, which is the fourth most that they've had in a single match this season. And remember, this is the only game that Arsenal have lost in the league this year. This is where United were able to excel, and especially Varane. He won 5 out of his 5 tackles, with 4 of them in the box, 5 clearances which were all in the box, and also committed 3 fouls higher up the pitch to disrupt Arsenal's play. I know that sounds like a weakness, but I think being savvy and using that gamesmanship is important at times. This led to Arsenal taking many shots outside the box, and that meant that the average distance for all shots taken was 18.6 yards. It's the furthest distance that they've averaged this season, which is notable, I think. Right, let's talk about the game plan, because before finding out that Casemiro was out, this part of the preview was going to focus on how United could defend differently this time around against Arsenal. Being able to defend from the midfield and outside the penalty area is what we saw against Man City when Fred and Casemiro were used together, and this resulted in City having just 1 shot on target, and it would have been something that I think they would have liked to have utilised against Arsenal. Casemiro has provided cover in front of the defence, something which Fred and McTominay didn't consistently provide in previous seasons, but I think they'll be given that task in this game. It'll be down to them to stop Arsenal's attacking rhythm, which, as Spurs found out last week, is incredibly difficult. So will Fred move on from his relationship with KDB last week, which was pretty intense, and move on to pastures new? And by pastures new, I mean Odegaard, because in particular, it's Odegaard who has been getting the praise most recently, and it's very much deserved. In our preview for the North London Derby, we spoke about how title-chasing teams have big players who step up in the big games and the games that matter the most. And Odegaard is one of those players who, for Arsenal, stood up. He had 2 shots on target, one, of course, resulting in a goal as well, and 2 key passes in the game. After Fred's defensive influence against City, it looks very likely that he'll be deployed in the same role to stop the Norwegian. Odegaard and De Bruyne take up very similar positions, and it only makes sense for Ten Hag to attempt to take out one of Arsenal's most influential players, especially in an away game. Martinelli versus Wan-Bissaka. Another really intriguing battle to watch is this battle between these two. Martinelli and Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka, it's surprising, isn't it? Because we just didn't see it happening, but defensively, he's so hard to get by. Again, you saw that at Crystal Palace, made an unbelievable last-ditch tackle against Wilfried Zaha. We've seen it time and again. And with Dalot currently out, it means that Wan-Bissaka has been starting for United, which has possibly made Ten Hag have second thoughts about his future. He's looked better on the ball and has continued his fantastic 1v1 defending, something which could especially benefit United in this game in particular. This will be the ultimate test for him though, because Martinelli has completed the most dribbles in the league with 31 this year, and United could significantly reduce the amount of times that Arsenal enter the penalty area, with Wan-Bissaka stopping Martinelli, running at pace and getting around him on the outside and getting to that byline. With Martinelli as one of the best one-on-one wingers in the league, and against Wan-Bissaka, one of the best one-on-one defenders, this for me is the most interesting battle in the entire game. At the other end of the pitch, another key battle, Rashford up against Ben White. It's also going to be such a great battle from one of the most informed players in the Premier League against one of Arsenal's most trustworthy players. As it's known with Arsenal's fullbacks, Ben White is the deeper of the two and helps to stop the opposition getting into space behind and counter-attacking them. However, in September, Rashford was able to run into space behind Arsenal's defence with an angled run away from White and behind Saliba. He was one-on-one with Ramsdale and scored United's second goal. The important thing for Arsenal is that they need to be aggressive into the players that are going to provide Rashford with the ball. This is almost the sort of De Bruyne to Haaland situation from last week, and you have to be quick in stopping the supplier as you can't slow down Rashford's runs in behind. Unlike the predicament Ten Hag has in midfield, Arteta will be relieved that all his preferred players in this area are available. That wasn't the case last time as Lokonga started instead of Thomas Partey. His return is a massive, massive bonus for this team. The reason for that is that it's likely that United will struggle for control in this area, and with Casemiro out and Partey in, it feels very likely that he could take charge in this area. Although something to watch out for will be Eriksen following Partey when Arsenal are passing out from the back. Ten Hag admitted that he had a plan for Rodri before the City match, and it was Eriksen's duty to mark him during their build-up to remove him as an option. Let's talk Wout Weghorst, because on the topic of Arsenal passing from the back, Wout Weghorst is likely to start and will be a key figure to press. I've actually done a short talking about how he is a pressing monster. If you haven't checked out some of the JLA shorts recently, make sure you do when you get a chance. We're trying to really push on that, so yeah, go check them out because I think they're all right, and we're doing different bits and pieces. But anyway, Wout Weghorst is going to be a key figure to press when the moment is right. As I said, we've spoken about how often he presses, and this will come to good use in a game where Arsenal's defence will have many touches. He had a fairly quiet debut against Crystal Palace, but the one moment which stood out was his presence in the box, which dragged defenders towards him, therefore creating space for Bruno to score that goal. And that could be another thing to keep in mind. You know, the late runs of less so Eriksen, but certainly Bruno Fernandes, his goal tally could go up in the future weeks. So Manchester United's lineup against City. United started a makeshift back four, but Ten Hag's preferred defence returned against Crystal Palace. This lineup also sees Fred and Eriksen take up the same roles that they had against Manchester City. Ultimately meaning, in comparison to the Manchester derby, Ten Hag is able to improve the defence with favoured players, start a new striker who suits his style, and have the rest of the team the same, aside from Casemiro, of course. There's no way of denying how big of a miss that is, even if it is just one player though. How big of a loss is that, Man United fans? Let me know in the comments down below. Is that a huge, huge worry, or is there enough momentum within the team right now and those new additions for you to be fit and firing despite Casemiro's absence? There are some alternative lineups, of course, as well. Some have suggested bringing Lisandro Martinez into midfield and keeping the same back four, which started against City. However, it just doesn't really work for me, because if Fred plays the same role to Mark Odegaard, then he needs to be on the left, but this is where Martinez would need to be. And he hasn't even featured in midfield for United, never mind on the right-hand side, so this feels like too much of a risk for Ten Hag. Arsenal's lineup is pretty self-explanatory, and again, I think a huge reason why they've done so well this season. The absence from their first 11 is Jesus, of course, but Nketiah has proven he can fill his role adequately when it comes to hold-up play. Arteta will definitely trust this team to get 3 points after beating Tottenham away just a week ago. Right then, prediction time. Let me know your predictions down in the comments below. And again, if you want to join me on Sunday, please do 4:15 or something like that on Twitch. Yeah, links in the description. So, I think they're going to cancel each other out a little bit. I think that could be the issue here. I think it's one way. Casemiro is a huge, huge loss, but I think the Martinelli-Wan-Bissaka battle is going to be massive. I think it's going to be a great night and day or whatever for Wan-Bissaka. I think he could get the better of Martinelli because that will be his main role. And going forward, I think he just needs to play it simple. But actually, he's been very impressive going forward. I think they got something a bit more exciting on the break with Rashford. Bruno Fernandes getting a goal this week was huge as well. And it'll be interesting to see if Wout Weghorst starts. I think he will because Martial's obviously been injured. I just think, yeah, I know I'm sitting on the fence here, but I just wonder, Arsenal, if they have too much for Man United, then wowee. And the reason I say that is because I think Man United will come with a mindset of the one that they had against Man City, which was to be difficult, to try and stop the opposition. And I think they might be able to do that against this Arsenal side, who, again, have given me no reason to think that they won't be able to pick them off, and they were far better than them in the first game. It'll be interesting to see if Arteta changes or learns, if it starts to go against him. in terms of his substitutions, because we saw some big moves in the last game. But again, he doesn't seem to have the same kind of depth, certainly with Jesus out of the side. I just think it'd be one of those where it's, okay, it's a draw, calm down everyone if you're an Arsenal fan, and move forward. And for Man United, I think they will be switched on enough and savvy enough to stop them. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Rashford to get a goal. I've got a feeling Bruno Fernandes might pinch a goal. Yeah, I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes with 1 goal. And then the goal for Arsenal, let's go with Saka. You've got to go with Saka. The guy is absolutely outrageous at this moment in time. I don't know. That's just a gut feeling when it comes to me. Of course, we never know what's going to happen. But I just wonder if they will cancel each other out. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff. Hit the like button. And let me know your predictions in the comments below. See you next time. Or see you on Sunday.